Hello. Today I wanted to tell you all a story about Juan Quezada. He's a man that I know down in Mato Ortiz, Chihuahua. And it's a story of this pottery making village that I've come to love and that I've visited many, many times during my life and taken friends. But before I tell you the story, I thought I'd show you this pot that I recently bought from this little village in Mato Ortiz. Isn't it an unusual one with a snake and a rat and then these designs, indigenous designs, and a base that is shaped like a turtle. So actually you have the head of the snake and the head of the turtle balance. I have this in my home and it's from this village we're going to learn about in this story and the man who started the entire tradition of pottery making, Juan Quezada. This is a true story. It is the story of how one curious and determined boy changed the future of his poor, nearly abandoned village in northern Chihuahua, Mexico. Today, the boy, Juan Quezada Celado, is a famous artist. His village of Mato Ortiz, a village of potters, is known all over the world. In 1999, the president of Mexico awarded him el Premio Nacional de Ciencias y Artes, the National Award in Science and Arts, for his revival of the ancient ceramic art of the Casas Grandes culture. This is the highest honor an artist in Mexico can receive. Tell me the story about the special day, Abuelito, begged Chato. Again, asked Chato's grandfather Juan. I told you last week. Abuelita, make him tell me. Grandmother Guille was burnishing one of her husband's painted clay pots with a chilicote bean. She gestured with her head toward two piles of smoldering ashes. Under one pile, covered by a clay quemador, which is like a bucket turned upside down, was Abuelito's hot-fired olla grande, a big pot. Under the other, the first ollita Chato had made all by himself. Juan, you have time to tell the story while your ollas are cooling, said Abuelita. You know Chato will keep asking until you do. I can begin, offered Chato. One day, Abuelito laughed. He lifted his sombrero and smoothed his hair. He put on his sombrero and pulled it down snugly. This is how it happened, he began. When I was about 13 years old, I collected firewood with my burro, Minuto. I'd bring home piñones, honey, anything to help feed our family of 12. We'd see ruinas, or ruins, from the ancient peoples. There were large cooking pits where they boiled the agave plant into syrup. I'd find shards, broken pieces of hard-baked clay. Some were blackened from cooking fires, but others had beautiful colors. I wanted to know how the ancients had made this colored barro, clay. I already knew how to make shapes from the sticky dirt near the rio, continued Abuelito. When I put any dried shapes into el fuego, or the fire, they would harden like the shards, but they blew apart. Why? It was a mystery. Even the old people in our pueblo didn't remember how to make painted clay ollas. You became an investigador, didn't you? Asked Chato. Sí, Abuelo nodded. I love to experiment. I began to throw everything I found into the fuego. Barro rojo, colored rocks, white bones. I was searching for the secret of the colored bottle, the colored clay. That's how the hills of Chihuahua look. And there's not many lights there. So the star is just filled with the sky is just filled with stars. Abuelo paused, remembered many nights of his beloved mountains. Then one day, prodded Chato. I forget, teased Abuelito. While Minuto was eating, said Chato. I went exploring, said Abuelito. Hidden in a wall of rocks, I saw a cueva, whispered Chato. A cave. Who could resist a cueva? Asked Abuelito. Not my Abuelito, said Chato. Inside the cueva, I found a three-legged stool, a calabaza cup, pieces of woven yucca zapatos. Abuelito took a deep breath to discover a cave with things in it. An olla, shouted Chato. See, and it wasn't broken, said Abuelito. White spots marched around the olla. It was painted with the same colors and diseños as the shards I'd found in the ruinas. The olla must have been sitting in that stool for at least 500 years. I put my hand inside the olla. I placed my fingertips in the marks left by the ancient alfarero, the ancient pottery maker. At that moment, I knew I had to find the secret of making an olla like this pinta, even if it took all my life. I tried many ways to make an olla. Eventually, I used my mother's bowl to keep the bottom of my ollas from collapsing. I put a tortilla. You flatten the clay. Tortillita. Flatten it like this. He made a tortilla, a bottle inside her bowl, pressing it in. Then I could add a fat chorizo, a big like fat sausage, a bottle or clay to the top edge of the tortilla and pinch it taller like this. Pinch it, pinch it, pinch it, pinch it. Pinch the clay. Abuelito sighed. Still, everything I made blew apart in el fuego. Why did you give up? Asked Chato. I listened to the stone chips and the shards crunching under my feet, answered Abuelito. They told me other boys had lived here long ago making arrowheads and ollas. If they had figured it out, so could I. You needed a clue, suggested Chato. And I found it, replied Abuelito. The shards I found near the El Rio were stronger than the others. I looked at them again. Something gritty was in them. What could it be? Sand, yelled Chato. Sí, said Abuelito. Then I added sand from the river and my olla stopped cracking. Later I found other bottle, rojo, on the ranch of Manuel Lopez and mixed it with sand. That was my first olla that I liked. By that time, I was already 18, but it took many more years of searching and experimenting to find the bottles and pinturas we use today. Chato giggled. You made a paintbrush with fur from a squirrel's tail. Why not? I wanted to paint my own diseños, my own designs. I tried bird feathers, cactus spines, and dog's fur too, said Abuelito. And don't forget my plants, added Abuelita. He tried everything, experimenting. See, added Abuelita. Then, when I used several strands of a young girl's hair, my painting flowed like breathing. Abuelito, said Chato, we forgot. Spencer comes before the paintbrush. Guille poked her husband lightly. Juan, she teased, maybe we should let our nieto Chato tell the story next time. I know what's next, said Chato. He knocked on the tree 3 times with his fist. 1, 2, 3, he counted. A stranger knocked on our door, said Abuelito. I opened the door, said Abuelita. Buenos dias. I'm Spencer McCallum, said the stranger. Spencer showed me photographs of Abuelito's ollas. I'm searching for the alfarera who made these beautiful ollas, he said. I bought them in New Mexico. I told him they were mine, said Abuelito. Spencer was surprised. A man was making pottery. I said I could make better ollas if I didn't have to spend time working for the railroad company. Spencer understood. We made an agreement. For several years, Spencer helped support my family. He knew this would allow me to experiment and improve my ollas. All those different designs on the table. It's what you find today when you visit. Spencer took Abuelito's pots to museums, said Abuelita. When people saw his beautiful work, they held exhibits. Schools invited Abuelito to teach. I taught my brother Nicolás to make ollas, said Abuelito, and my sisters, Consolación y Reynalda. We taught anyone who wanted to learn. Then we earned money making ollas. And families who left our pueblo to find work came back to learn pottery. And when you go there, every house you go in, their dining room table and even their bedrooms, dressers, are filled with pots you can buy. I'm learning too, aren't I, Abuelito? Asked Chato. Sí, you will be a fine alfarero, said Abuelito. Come, it's time to look at our ollas. Abuelito lifted the grande quemador that was covering his pot. He lifted this big, it's like a bucket or a big pot. It was covering it and heating the pot. Chato lifted his quemador. Mira, Abuelita, said Chato. That's a beautiful ollita, said Abuelita. It certainly is, Chato, said Abuelito. Let's have a closer look at our work. Abuelito Juan picked up his olla grande and held it high. Chato picked up his ollita and held it high. The day I found the olla pinta in the cueva was special, Chato, said Abuelito. It changed the lives of everyone in our pueblo. But making ollas with my nieto, this is truly a special day. So that's the story of this little village. It's about 3 hours from here, and that's a true story. Now there are hundreds of people who are from that village making pots, and people come from all over the world to buy them. So I'm happy to share that story with you today.